PowerPlayChess, brought to you in association with Kagi. I was once again joined by Grandmaster Stuart Conquest for a live interview on the channel. Stuart is the chairman of the organising committee of the Hastings Congress, this traditional tournament that takes place on the south coast of England. This year dates are the 28th of December to the 5th of January. It'll be the 98th edition of this tournament. First one was in 1895, that really famous tournament. Do check out their website, hastingschess.com, for all the details of the events. So our chat was over an hour long, but what I've done here is pick out just a section of it, a short clip, which actually features one of my own games from Hastings. I only played in the Hastings Premier on one occasion, and well, I didn't cover myself with glory. I didn't have a good tournament, but this game, at the very least, was really entertaining and features an amazing checkmating idea, which sadly I missed. But anyway, do check out the clip. Here's the story. So I should say that I've only played once in the Hastings Premier, and it was pretty disastrous. I played really poorly. Let me just find the game. But I would like to show everyone one of the games I played, which was against Yevgeny Bareev, who was the winner that year. Just flicking through these World Championship games. Let me find my game.
And by the way, Dan, he also won, I checked, he won the two subsequent editions as well. So this was,
wow.
He won 3 times in a row, beginning with this year that you played him.
Okay, so I set him off on a very good run. He was emboldened. Yeah, I mean, this was played in round 3. I think I'd lost my first 2 games, actually. So this was my 3 in a row, which was a bit sad. Or did I draw round 2? Anyway, I can't remember. It was a really poor start. It was a poor start, a mediocre finish, a mediocre middle, and a poor finish. That was my Hastings. So here we go. So I was white, but actually I thought this was a fantastic game. I thought it was really entertaining. So I was white. I wheeled out the English. And do you have any experience with this variation, Queen C2?
Well, I have played it, a few times, but not in a few years, let's be honest.
Well,
okay.
Me neither.
Yeah.
So,
actually, I see your ratings were quite close at the time, Dan. You were 2,560 and Yevgeny was 2,590.
Yes, it was a watershed moment for both of us. I slipped down off the peak and he kept going up. But I seem to remember kind of catching him in this line, because basically in this position the best move is to take on c3, and after queen c3, queen e7,
very solid,
d5, and you recapture with the knight. So black regains some time by taking on d5 with the knight, and actually black is fine in that position. So that's quite a lot of games played in that, and I've played that a few times with white actually. But he played castles, and this is still fine for black, but after knight d5 it starts to get a bit tricky actually. Already white can contemplate moves like knight g5 with some kind of very crude attack on h7. So that's why he played h6. So I pushed the bishop and played b4. So I wanted to bring the bishop, and he took knight e7. Now there's no need to defend that pawn. I played bishop b2, and he took. Of course, I can just take on e5, and I think it's okay for white. But I played bishop c4, as you do. And the knight went back. But see, I was really pleased to see that. I assumed that he was just going to put the knight back on the king's side. and he played
Right.
this just to protect his e-pawn. So, he wants to protect his extra pawn. I mean, I thought that he would compromise and play like this,
And just okay.
and take, and the game goes on. But I was amazed that he decided that he wanted to. I mean, I wanted to keep my bishop, so I got 2 nice bishops.
Of course.
So he did this in order to keep his extra pawn. But I thought, wow, the knight is really sidelined, and that gives me the opportunity.
And look at his bishop. His bishop on c8. I mean, it's
exactly. I just thought this is a really. I was amazed that he played like this actually. So, Stuart, I don't know if you can see my next move. I don't know.
I'm trying not to look. I'm imagining things like h4 or queen g6. These kind of moves,
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't go h4. However, I did go. Not Harry, but
g4.
Gary. Yeah, I mean, it just seemed like such an invitation with the pawn on h6, just to crack things open.
It's funny, Dan, after all these years, you still remember, you still must have the sort of take yourself back in time to how you felt as you played this move, as you played knight b6, that kind of fresh feelings still.
I mean, obviously I can't remember everything, but I mean, I do. This was such a memorable game because it was such an exciting game. And I do remember certain things about it, absolutely. Now, I'll tell you a bit more later, actually, the stuff I remember. But yeah, I do remember being amazed that he wanted to keep this extra pawn because it seemed to me this just gave me a fantastic attack.
Yes.
And actually, I mean, I was right. It is a fantastic attack. So he played e4. Right, what now?
I don't know, you're going to tell me you did something like g5, you sacrificed the knight or something?
Of course I played g5.
Oh my goodness. Did you really?
This should have been my immortal game. It should have been my evergreen. As it was.
I think we should publish this diagram on the Hastings Chess Congress website.
No! No, please no. Unfortunately, it's just... it's not an evergreen. It just went in the compost bin. Okay, wow. So he took on g5. Now, the big question is, what happens on pawn takes knight? What can white play?
Well, I can see an interesting move. Which I mentioned before, I think.
I mean, looking at this... sorry, yeah, please.
Well, I'm looking at queen g6.
Of course,
is
queen
it too
g6.
Good to be true?
It's not. I mean, look, this is why I got the bishop out. That's why I sacked the pawn. Look at those bishops. So obviously there's the pin. I'm threatening mate. So, I mean, there isn't really another move. I'm also threatening f7. So, this didn't happen, unfortunately. Takes here. So the pressure is building. Takes. Rook g1. I mean, this is smooth. I can just... Here. Bishop b1.
Oh, beautiful. That's a lovely move. Bishop b1.
Now, don't take the queen. So the queen moves and I play queen h8. I mean, of course, he can give the queen.
Of course, yeah.
But this one won't last too long. Okay, so... I mean, that's all completely forced. I mean, black is playing only moves. So I played g5, and he took...
He took on g5.
He took on g5. This is the game continuation. Now what?
Well, I take it you didn't move the knight.
Maybe I should have moved the knight.
Yeah.
Okay, so obviously h4.
H4, okay.
So with similar business to, pawn takes knight. I imagine queen g6 must be, or maybe taking on g5. It must be winning. So this, queen g6 is just crushing. Okay, so
same thing.
Bishop e7.
It just looks terrible for black. It looks so bad.
It is completely lost. How did I not finish? Right. At this moment, I must have lost my senses. What next? This should have been my crowning moment.
Right. Okay.
I suspect there's more than one way to play this. Well, what's your feeling?
Yeah, feeling is well, he's going to play d5 next and kind of block you out there. If you play h takes g5, so he's going to go d5, I guess.
Exactly, yeah.
So,
queen e4, d5 blocks out one of the bishops.
So I don't know whether you should sacrifice bishop f7 and knight e5 check.
Ooh,
or something like that. I don't know.
Also very tempting. Yeah. Well, I played queen e4.
Okay.
I mean, it looks great.
It does.
But actually after this, it's actually not so clear. Incredibly. I just assumed that, there would be a knockout here, but actually there isn't. Because I thought this looked fantastic.
Still looks brilliant, yeah.
Actually, after f5, I couldn't find anything. However, if we come back to
amazing.
I mean, it just looked. However, I can take on g5 or play knight e5, but let's go with we'll take here. This is winning.
Okay, threatening g6.
Okay, so
queen e4.
So he blocks out with d5.
Yeah.
Simple move.
Okay.
I mean, I think this is hard to see because it seems clearer to remove the e-pawn.
Oh, you're threatening rook h8 check. Is that the point?
Brilliant.
That's the point.
Well done, Stu.
That's the point.
That is the threat to play rook h8. So, bishop g5, rook h8, game over.
That's nice.
So, that's why bishop e6 is necessary. And now, but you can understand why I would probably, one would reject this line. But actually, this is completely winning.
Is it something like queen d1 to come around the side?
Queen d1, and if g6.
Wow, there must be knight somewhere. Rook h8
maybe
mate,
just g6.
But you have discovered checks, knight somewhere, a mate on h8.
Right. Yeah. I mean, maybe something even quite flashy. Beautiful move. Yeah.
Knight c6.
What about taking here? So queen h5, bishop h6. I mean, it looks. It's on the edge, isn't it?
On the edge, but that's right.
Maybe okay. I don't know, but there's something that's absolutely devastating.
G6 maybe.
G6 also looks terrifying. I mean, I suppose F5.
I was trying to play G6, and if F takes G6, Queen takes E4. That was my idea. I mean, I don't know.
Well, you're moving along the right lines. Well done. Okay, shall I show you? Because you're almost there.
Oh, hang on! Don't tell me. You can play Queen E4, D4, Knight G6.
Well done. Goodness done.
Me.
Okay, so Queen E4, threatening mate in 2, and if this, well done, you spotted it.
Wow.
Knight G6.
I think it's the greatest combination I've ever seen in my life. It's incredible, Dan. It's a stunner.
I could have been my Immortal. It could have been me.
This is your Vaganian Planage game, you know?
It is.
This is it, yeah.
So, threat rook h8, and if takes, and...
Amazing.
Gold coins, gold coins, photographers, beautiful women clustering around the board. Oh dear. Could have been
so
me,
close.
Stu. Could have been
So
me.
close.
So instead of that,
Tragic.
yeah,
Tragic.
tragic is the word. So, I mean, it's funny. Just optically, Queen E4 just looks crushing, doesn't it? But in fact, you could also play knight e5 first. It comes to the same thing. But yes, I think that's the thing. This is the threat.
That's nice. It's right.
And
so it's not immediately obvious because it doesn't depend on the bishops. It's a different tactic, isn't it?
Yeah. And there's absolutely no defense there. It's just amazing. But let me show you just the rest of the game. It kind of loses its interest after that, really. Because after this, actually, black is okay here. But it's still... I still thought, well, I'm hacking on. And it's still quite unclear, actually. And both of us made errors. But I thought, I've still got some kind of attack here. But he defended extremely well, I have to say. Even here, I thought, the knight's good. His king's perhaps a little bit exposed, but actually that pawn does a good job. Good manoeuvre. Bring the knight round to defend the king's side. That was classy. And actually, by this stage, he's threatening to take here. And
yep.
Even here, it's not so clear, but he played very well. And inevitably, we had a ludicrous time scramble. And actually, one thing I remember was that the time control was 40 in 2 hours.
Right.
And at some moments, I'd stop recording, as had he. We were really short of time. You can imagine with the complications we had to play through here. And at this moment, he just stopped. And very often, as you'll know very well, you're not, when you're blitzing, you're not quite sure of how many moves you've made.
Precisely, yeah.
I wasn't recording, he wasn't recording. And he looked up, and above us, there was a TV screen with the move numbers on it.
Oh, no!
And it just hadn't... how dumb was I? He just looked up at the screen and saw he made 40 moves, and then stopped.
Yeah.
Whereas I was still blitzing away. And actually, the position's still quite unclear. But at this moment, he just stopped and calmed down. He thought for about 15 minutes and just calculated everything out. And he realised after some calculation that this is actually winning for black if you play precisely.
Okay.
But it was just a funny moment where I just thought, oh, God, of course. Just stop and look at the TV screen. I don't know. Would they do that now? Not now.
I don't know, actually, because it's giving information, isn't it?
Exactly.
Anyway,
so, the game ended like this. Sorry, go on.
In the World Championship match just finished, they had no increment, as we just discussed earlier, before move 40. So I imagine there was no way for the players to know when they'd made move 40 if they weren't writing moves down, although I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't know exactly. Anyway, his technique was perfect. He'd calculated this all out. But I thought it was really impressive that he stopped and he didn't rush his moves after the time control, because obviously he had more time. And he thought for, I think it was about 15 minutes. And just...
Respect, Dan. That's also respect for the opponent.
I'm afraid he'd learnt he didn't need to show me any respect at all. And
But that really was a beautiful. I'm sorry you didn't play it because it was such a nice. But could I ask, did you analyze with Yevgeny afterwards? Is that where some of these variations sort of were discovered in the post-game analysis?
No.
Or was it later on?
It was subsequently with flicking a button.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah.
Even in 1990, 91.
Well, much later on. To be honest, I just assigned this game to the rubbish heap. Just
Oh,
very
right.
quickly, just let me show the finish, because here I resigned, because there's simply no defense to g2 and rook here, and then the pawn goes home. So for example here, let me see, a2, and well, I mean obviously the rook, the king can't get involved, and the rook just comes to f1. There's absolutely no defense. Yeah, likewise here, and g2. So yeah, his technique was perfect actually. But yeah, that was my moment. That was my Immortal in this position. This, and I think, obviously I mean, I can't remember my exact thought process at the time. I just dismissed this one basically.
Yeah.
And that's why I went for that, which optically looks great, but actually, afraid not so good.